Spiritual awakening is when you realize that you were always the one that chose this, allowed it, and benefited from it. Spiritual awakening is the moment that your soul shifts from an identity of blame, shame, and victimization into the understanding that you chose this for you and you're the one that benefits from it. Spirit also told me there is no such thing as good and bad. 2026 is a powerful year. It's actually going to be the year of heaven or hell. So 2026 is a year of what we call master manifestation. And Edward Casey even wrote about 2026 being a master manifester year. And you're either going to, which is the scary part, repeat 2 years of karma or move forward at light speed within the next 2 months. So, meaning that whatever you're doing, if you do not step up to what your guides are telling you, so if you have someone that's stuck and they're in the old timeline, they're just manifesting that struggle into the future. So this is really a time to get really serious with yourself. So the first thing to do is
She's back. My guest today is Dr. Sunshine Frost, who was on the channel a year ago talking about her incredible near-death experience. And because of this near-death experience, she has been an open channel medium. She has so many abilities. This is a conversation you are not going to want to miss, because today we are talking all about you. What do you need to know about timeline shifts and how 2026 is getting ready to play out? So, Sunshine, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me again.
I'm so excited. I love this. I've got the chills. You've got the chills. I know we're getting ready to make some incredible magic. I'm so glad to be here talking about these timelines and these life paths. So thank you for having me on.
Well, I want to hype you a little bit because, first of all, my life is so synchronistic. It is no surprise to me that when I looked up our interview was posted exactly 1 year ago today. We are coming together again to interview. So that's a divinely orchestrated connection. But before we started recording, you remembered in great detail a reading that you did for me while we were talking after our interview, where you connected with my dog. And for people who have watched my show for a while, you will know that I had a dog named Storm. She was the greatest love of my life. I just was in adorance of this dog, and she was getting ready to pass. And you not only told me what would happen, and it did happen, but when we got on camera, you remembered all of this, and you shared something that I didn't know about you, which is that you have a photographic memory. And even though at this point in time, you have interviewed over 170,000 people, giving readings to them, you remember all of them because you are not living a normal human incarnation where you are on this linear timeline like the rest of us. You're remembering time not like this. You're remembering time like this. And I think that this is a great place to help people understand what timelines are and how they work from your understanding and connection, because you've been on the other side.
Yes. Yeah, that was really interesting. I do remember that. And I remember your dog was, when I channeled for you, she was alive, but her oversoul, her consciousness was ready to move on because she knew all the things that you were about to do in your life. And I was able to talk about your house, how it would sell and what would happen, and that this podcast would grow and that you're going to go on to these other channels. And she said, my work with her is done, and I'm holding her back from traveling and doing the things she needs to do. So it's time for me to go. And with that, your dog found the exit point for her soul, which was easiest for her. So there was no guilt with you needing to move forward and travel. But yeah, you said, I can't believe you remember this. And I said, well, for me, it's not in the past. It just is. And that's how I feel with people, getting to read for people all over the world. I'm at 19 years full time as a professional, online and in person. But of course, I had it for many years before that, but did nothing to benefit the collective. It was just something I felt that I struggled with, and I didn't feel worthy of it. So I didn't really use it, because what if you make a mistake or tell somebody? And of course, now I don't feel that at all. I feel extremely blessed to do what I do. And I love channeling and helping people with this amnesia. We're all living in a state of amnesia on this earth. And it's our job when we have these gifts to awaken to them and be able to help each and every person individually and collectively raise the vibration that this is who we are and what we're meant to do here. Because when people have their purpose, they find their calling and then they benefit the whole collective as well.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned collective a couple of times in what you were just talking about, because you said that a lot of times when you do these interviews, we're talking about your near-death experience. And if you guys want to listen to Dr. Sunshine's NDE, I'll link it right here, and you can go and listen to it in its full detail. But today, you said you don't want this to be about you. This is
Right.
about the people who are tuning in. And if you are watching this, there is absolutely no accident, because I know that people are on this big spectrum of just waking up and also being deeply into the spiritual path. And this is a master changing year, this 2026 timeline that we're talking about. So we will explain to everybody what is in it for the collective right now, what is happening, because everybody has to make a choice.
Yeah, actually, I'm just getting another set of chills as we're talking about this. 2026 is a powerful year. It's actually going to be the year of heaven or hell. And when I said that, you go, what is that? And when I said that, you go, what is that? And the year of 2026 is the accumulation for those that have suffered from 2023 was a year of great suffering for so many people. We lost a lot of people during the pandemic. Health issues skyrocketed. 6 million people went off planet collectively. And if someone's soul decided to stay here, it's because they're part of the new timeline. And a lot of people don't remember that. They don't know that. So they're really struggling through 2023. Now, in 2024, it was all about trying to get past and achieve. But a lot of people had scrapes, bumps, and bruises for 2024. And some people started to manifest. They tried to break away from relationships that were outgrown. They tried to break away from careers that may not serve them in their highest. They really tried to better their health. They tried to lose weight. They tried to do all these different things. And some of them now are going to reap those rewards. So 2026 is a year of what we call master manifestation. And Edward Casey even wrote about 2026 being a master manifester year. And you're either going to, which is the scary part, repeat 2 years of karma or move forward at light speed within the next 2 months. So, meaning that whatever you're doing, if you do not step up to what your guides are telling you, and I want to normalize this, we as humans should have 3 to 4 careers in a lifetime, not one. The career that you choose at 20 should change at 40 and should change at 60. So we're in these paths of basically every 12 years, you're in a new spiritual alignment, and we need to normalize changing of possible careers, even where you live, and possibly, yeah, even partners if they're not evolving with you as humans. Not necessarily that they can't go where you're going, but we need to normalize that what you choose in your 20s should not be the true north of where you're operating in your 40s. And what you're doing as a 40-year-old should not then resonate as the true north for what you're doing in your 50s, 55 and up. And so this year is a really big year for those people that have had doubts. I feel like I feel lost. I go to the same job. I'm in the same relationship. I live in a great neighborhood. People call me and they say, I have a good life, great kids, everything's going well, but I feel completely disconnected from this reality. I feel that it wouldn't matter if I died tomorrow. It's not that I'm unhappy. I'm just not called and connected to my divine destiny. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I raised my kids. I retired. I had my job, or I have a great job and I don't feel the fulfillment, because this 2026 is where you are supposed to be making the changes that spirit has been insinuating for the last year or two. So if you choose not to and you stay in that comfortable time zone and we continue to blame other people, stay in toxic relationships, not cut off friends that are not benefiting us, stay with abusive people that take advantage of us, stay with narcissistic relationships. We're going to actually start a new timeline with those written into the path, and we don't want that.
So, how are these timelines working? And what do you mean when you say we're going to go into or start a new timeline?
So, that's a great question. We're only living in a 9-month year right now.
Hmm.
So, a year ago, we talked about this, and I said to people, have you noticed since 2023? In 2021 really is when it started. We were in a 12-month cycle. So there was 3 seasons, right? 3 to 4 seasons. We had a full winter, a full spring, a full summer, a full autumn, and a winter, and we recycled. Well, then when we shifted, and I don't exactly know why we shifted, but I do know we did shift, and we went into an 11-month year during the COVID pandemic where suddenly Christmas was showing up sooner. Everybody said it just doesn't feel like Christmas. I don't want to put my tree up. It feels like it should be Thanksgiving. The weather started going different. The seasons were not in alignment with the dates that we had grown up on the calendar with. You know, by Halloween, it should have like a nice autumn feel. The leaves should be dropping. These things should be happening, and they really weren't. At football season, we were feeling like it should be Halloween. Well, then a following year, we went into around a 10-month year. And it's kind of because progress and spiritual advancement and the awakening of the planet, as more people awaken to their spiritual awakening, to the knowledge that there is more, to the idea that we're not just here for the moment, the more people awaken and the more people went off planet that weren't part of the new collective, the faster time could move to help us accelerate our own growth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you think of the Dark Ages, or in the 1950s, there was almost no inventions. And then between 1950 and 1980, everything came into being, from Velcro to plastic, quartz crystals, computer, chipboards, Wi-Fi, everything happened within 50 years. But if you look back in time, there was 600 years where almost no new developments were made. So there was a shift that happened in, like, say, 1950. And from that shift, we've been moving a little faster ever since. And as more people collectively awaken that there's more to what we believe, to the matrix, right? And the more we believe about ourselves. And then again, we had 6 million people go off planet. So they were not of this new identity. Their souls had already lived their lifetimes. They were ready to collectively go to paradise, go home, rest, learn their lessons, go through their life reviews. They weren't part of the new collective, which is the people that are on the planet. So now that there's more of us awakening, we moved into a little quicker timeline, because if we stayed at that 12-month year, it's harder to manifest as quickly. It's harder to synchronize as fast. It's harder to move, to heal the body as quickly, to move into all of the developments we're learning. And everything that is a development, a creation, or an invention, it's slower. But we moved into the timeline for the benefit of humanity. Wars will happen, but they will end quicker. We're not dragging things out decades long. We're moving through things a little faster, which is good. In a lot of ways, it's very good. Medicine, technology, humans, relationships, spirituality will grow faster. But on the other side of it, it means you manifest a lot quicker as well, whether positive or negative. So if you have someone that's stuck and they're in the old timeline, meaning they've been with the same person and they keep complaining about the same situations, or they've been with the same job and they've been very unhappy and dissatisfied, and they keep complaining, but they're not taking any of the actions, rather than manifesting that new career faster, or that new education, or funds for those things, they're going to actually retrap themselves. Basically, they're going back a year in time. So they're going to relive the whole like 2025 struggle again. They're just manifesting that struggle into the future. So this is really a time to get really serious with yourself between now. We call it March manifestation, and I don't know when this is going to air. I hope this airs before March, but I'm glad. And everybody feels it, though. I mean, this is when the veil is thinner, and it keeps getting. So again, we went to a 10-month year, and now we're in a 9-month year. What do I mean by that? Everybody knows last year we had a barbecue in the summer, and we sneezed and it was Halloween. And we sneezed and it was Thanksgiving. And then 2 weeks later from Thanksgiving felt like it was Christmas. From Black Friday to Christmas Day, it honestly felt like we only had about 2.5 weeks. And energetically, that's correct. So what you're seeing on your calendars, what you're seeing in your days, they're not matching our energetics. We know that there is no way that there should be 100 degrees at Christmas. And why are the leaves dropping in February? And why are we having snow into the spring, but we had none in the winter? Because the earth, Mother Earth, us, we know energetically that we're moving into a faster timeline. It's like time itself is sped up, even if the calendars are not matching what we are intuitively picking up.
I'm
But that's
so glad you're explaining this, because not a week goes by that I don't have a conversation where somebody comments on how fast time is going, and has also, everybody's talking about these weather changes and how,
yeah.
if you've been on this planet long enough, you know how it was supposed to work, and it's not working like that.
But if you could take away and add back 3 months, so think of it now, like right now, we're supposed to be in February. We're actually in December. This is December's weather. This is the this right now is true December weather pattern. So go back 2 to 3 months and look at where we're at. You know, summer is really spring. I remember June being 40 degrees. I'm like, how is this possible? You know, but energetically, they're doing it for the benefit of the planet. It's the higher consciousness. And people talk about, you know, aliens and different life forms and everything. That is true. There are many life forms that want to bless and help Earth right now. And they are the ones that are helping to activate the speeding up, because they've been watching our planet evolve for thousands of years. And we're in all of these wars, and we were in all of these political despair, and we were going into nuclear fields. Last 2 years, there was the threat of nuclear stuff, and we've had to do many different operations across the planet to keep that from happening. And so remember, when we speed up time, we speed it up for the good. And yes, sometimes it's not so good, because we have now turbo cancers. People die faster. They find out they have cancer and they're gone 3 months later, right? Remember, cancer used to be a battle, and now people find out they're passing and they're in hospice and they're gone. Hospice, I actually do volunteer hospice readings. I go in and do mediumship, right, for hospice, to let them know who's on the other side, who will be greeting them, and that it's okay for them, so they're not afraid. And the hospice, I have very good friends, and they say, we've never seen hospice be so busy and so fast. It used to be 8 months to a year on hospice, and now they're here 12 weeks is average for hospice, because timelines are quicker, but it means people are moving through their timelines quicker as well.
Well, it sounds like then that's by design as well, because if people are moving through that faster, they're also exiting, because there was a
Yes.
choice that had to be made by souls who are on this planet at this time about where they want to go. So will you explain what you understand about that?
Yeah, that is something I teach a lot on my channel. So I do a show called Spirit Uncensored. We talk about everything, but there's been questions in my practice now, being a metaphysical minister and a medium. It's been about 19 years, and I've kind of accumulated these questions that I call kind of master questions, because it doesn't matter where I read for people or where I'm at, they seem to ask the same questions. And because I do a lot of life path readings, a lot of people are on different levels. When I started this, there were people that were repeating patterns, people that were unaware of their patterns. There were people that were married to the same person. They would get divorced, remarry, the same archetype. Okay, so we have the narcissist and the empath, and they would continually change the person, but the archetype didn't change, and their archetype of being a martyr didn't change. So I remember, I would tell them, it's because you need to change your banner or your timelines or what do you mean? And I said, well, you're living the same life path you've lived in 3 lifetimes, and you're still in it. And you got to overcome that, so you can move into a new timeline where this is not your banner anymore, or this is not your cross to bear. This is not uh, you've overcome that piece of it. So now you can work on another part of it. So let's go back a little bit. We had a conversation. I had it on my show. I just shared it with you, Miss Lori. Every person has an oversoul. And I just had this question asked to me, which is one of the master questions. What's the difference between a soul and a spirit? Are they the same thing? So let me start there. A spirit is what is energetically occupying your body at this time to animate it and bring it to life. So you're not just biological and anatomical, right? Your body's alive, yes, but inside of the body is a spirit. The spirit is the life force energy which animates the body, because even if you put the body on a life support machine, if the spirit is not there, it will not be animated. Correct? You've seen people on life support. The body is there biologically and anatomically, it's functional, but the spirit is not in it. There's no animation, no personality. There's the essence of that person has left. Okay. So the spirit is what animates the body. Simple. Now, the difference between the spirit and the soul, the spirit is the amount of energy that's occupying the body at any given time, but the soul is really the oversoul. The soul is always actually referring to the oversoul, which is the collective experience of everything your spirit has ever been through. So the oversoul is where all of your records are kept for every lifetime, whether here as an incarnation or time spent in the before life or life between lives or afterlife. Your soul is the collection of all learned and gathered collective experience that you've had. And you're not fully embodying that in each lifetime, or in even, let's just say, if you only believe in one life, that's fine. In this life, you're not fully embodying your entire oversoul. But the goal of every life, or this lifetime, but every lifetime, your goal is to embody more of your oversoul, your higher self, as they call it in the spiritual community. Our goal is to embody more of our higher self by allowing more of our lower self to evaporate or to dissolve. And people say, well, why doesn't my higher self come down here? Well, because your higher self doesn't need the experience. We only incarnate in our lowest form. So everybody on the planet is only incarnating in their lowest form, because it's the only part that needed spiritual awakening, advancement, teachings, learning, and the virtues. So when I was on the other side, I had my near death at 17. I overdosed of heroin. Tragic, but it's kind of a good thing. And then I had another out of body in 2023. I had AFib and had to have heart surgery, and I had a powerful out of body in the ambulance on the way to that. And my mother, who had never been there, abandoned me when I was 3 years old. I don't remember her. She showed up, and I remember calling for her and saying, because she died of a heart attack at 42, and here I am, almost the same age, and I'm about to die. My grandmother had died at 51. So I had no women. They all died of heart attacks. And here I was having a heart attack in the ambulance. And I remember calling and saying, you've never done anything for me. You better show up. And she did. And I remember her just being the woman that I had thought I'd forgotten. I remembered her perfectly. The smell of her cigarettes. She was a very beautiful but rough woman. And she showed up and she said, you're not done. I mean, it's not that easy for you. I said, I don't want to die. Am I going to die? And I remember they said, it's not that easy. You're not done. And then I had a third experience where I had a powerful healing and I went out of body, and my body was still very much alive. But the spiritual freedom of the out of body was just like the near death. And I was shocked. I was honestly profoundly shocked that we could go out of the body with the silver cord staying tethered and our body's still alive in a space, I don't know, sleep trance-like state, I guess. But I was fully. And now I realize this is what the yogis, Jesus, the masters, the ascended ones, they could do this at will. And this was a profound experience. And I had that experience in 2023 also, after the heart surgery, when I was recovering 8 months later. But in all of these, what they showed me was each person has, now this is for the younger guys, the millennials, you may not get this, so I'm going to explain it for the other folks. We used to have Encyclopedia Britannicas. They were like, you're laughing. Okay, there was no internet really. We didn't have access to what we have now, the World Wide Web. Information wasn't exchanged the same way. But as a little girl, I remember my grandparents put money into buying an Encyclopedia Britannica. And we wanted every single one of these. We had to wait for them to come in, and I remember reading through it, and you could look up anything from aardvark to anteater to Antarctica, and we would do reports using these services of the encyclopedia. Well, when I saw the Akashic, it's very much the same. We all want to collect every volume. And if there is a volume missing, our life paths are planned around how can we have the experiences to acquire as many volumes as we can. In the old life path, before, say, 1979, when the crystal, rainbow, and indigo children started being born on the planet, there was only maybe one path that they would take on, like one book. Like, let's just say their book was abandonment. So they needed to collect pretend there's a library over here beside me, and they need to get the volume on abandonment. So they would come into the life path, and their life would be just about how to be abandoned. So maybe the father left the mother, then the mother was unwed and born in an unwed mother's home. And then the baby was abandoned in an orphanage, and then she was adopted by a narcissistic mother, and the mother was so we have this life path where this one soul came into this incarnation just to collect the volume of abandonment. What did the soul learn? What compassion did it create? How did it want to do different in the next life? How many people did that person help because they were abandoned? Now she decided to adopt 3 or 4 children or dogs or pets or become a nun, whatever her transmutation of that experience was. So she came in with abandonment. That was her volume to accomplish. And half of the book is what happened to you. And the other half of the book would be what you did about it. Right? But now that we're in these faster timelines, people are taking on 2 or 3 volumes at a time because we're in a different life. So someone could take on, say, abuse as a child, sexual, physical, mental abuse, then take on abandonment from the parental figures, then take on addiction as a young adult or a teen, and then take on, that's 3 A volumes right there: abandonment, abuse, addiction. Okay. So people are coming into the planet, and the life paths are much, much harder than they were, say, 100 or 200 years ago. Yes, it's true, women and children didn't have the rights and their lives were very limited, but they would usually have either just one or so banners or titles that they were here to accomplish. Now we see people taking on depression, anxiety, diseases, abandonment, persecution, loss, bereavement, spiritual callings. I mean, it's crazy how one lifetime now is, by the time they're 25, they've already lived like a 50-year life. So we need to normalize that. It's okay to have it's okay to have more careers in this lifetime, more spiritual callings. It's okay to change locations. It's okay to move where spirit is moving you, remember the old lifestyle was 2 kids, a dog, a picket fence, and you stayed married for life. And now we see the new generation of crystal children. They don't even want to marry. They don't even want to tie their life path down to a solitary person, not because they don't love, but because they know that the old-fashioned love is very restrictive and selfish, and it's very collectively selfish to think that that person is going to stay what you need for 50 to 60 years, or that you can stay what that person needs for 50 or 60 years and still accomplish your spiritual path. So more people are taking the yogic path, which is like having, and I'm not saying this is not about sex and this is not about morality. This isn't about ethics or judgment. This is really about people choosing to kind of take responsibility for their own energy, taking responsibility for their own soul quest, taking responsibility for their path while they're here. I'm seeing a lot of 50 plus not wanting to remarry. They're really wanting to feel like they gave so much of their time to their kids, their children, their mate, that now it's all about living their spiritual calling, coming back into alignment with why they're here and who they truly are. And so there's so many shifts, but again, people are coming into the body to accomplish different life paths. And I did
Sunshine,
not.
you just freed so many people with this explanation. What I was imagining while you were talking about all of these different virtues that people are taking on is somebody on a soul level, their higher self with a little shopping cart going, I'll take this and I'll take this. And the guides are going, do you think maybe you should put one of those back because you're taking a lot? And you're like, nope, I'm going to do it. And you have given people one of the best explanations of why, when I say to people, everything is happening for you and not to you, why that counts even for the things that we would label as bad, terrible, unwanted things happening to us, when we can understand that on a higher soul level, there was a purpose of why we chose it, and that it's all happening in our favor for us, unfolding perfectly. We hear all the NDEers say that, but this was one of the best explanations I've ever heard of why that makes sense.
Yeah, it's because the spiritual awakening for any one person can never happen. I actually asked, what is spiritual awakening? And Spirit told me spiritual awakening is when you realize that you were always the one that chose this, allowed it, and benefited from it. And until
Say
a
that
person,
again. Say that again. That's so important.
spiritual awakening is the moment that your soul shifts from an identity of blame, shame, and victimization into the understanding that you chose this for you and you're the one that benefits from it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Spirit also told me there is no such thing as good and bad. There's only high and low vibration. And people get so angry when I teach this because I am a metaphysical minister and I teach about the true identity of Jesus as the incarnation of who he was, and Mary Magdalene and the 12 disciples and the 12 female disciples. And people lose their mind over this stuff, but I'm okay because they're just learning. They're not in that life path yet. But for those that I'm teaching this to, they don't understand that they chose some of this before they came, because there's not a lot of knowledge in the Christian community of the before life. And reincarnation is taught throughout the Bible. It's just not taught in the pulpit. It's all there. It's all there if you have a teacher to show it to you. And people are so open and glad when they find it. But when I was teaching on this, I said, we chose our life path for the benefits. And when I say there is no good or bad, they go, that's crazy. What about the person that murdered somebody? And I said, right. But when I do their past life reading, they were oftentimes the murderer. So they had to experience the opposite of that energetic, and their soul chose it because the only way to balance that karmic outcome, or to understand the suffering they put someone else through, or to gain the compassion of that experience, is to then themselves choose it. And God doesn't do that to us because we are in oneness with God on all decisions. He doesn't do anything to us. We don't do it to ourselves. On the other side, people don't understand. On the other side, there is no us. Like the consciousness of us
Yes.
let me say this, let me reiterate this. My daughter asked me on the way home today, what if I don't want to live forever on the other side? What if I don't want to go on? And I said, well, the good thing is there is no I. I doesn't exist there, because I is a thought form of your identity. So I am Sunshine Frost. I am 5'11". I am Nordic. I am in California. I am a medium. I'm a mother of 4. I am. These are all creations and indoctrinations of my identity while my spirit occupies this host body, this lifetime was chosen and picked for me because of the receptivity and experiences I need to have. It's not just me. I mean, I have major spirit guides. So I always say we have source, angels, guides, and our higher self. And it's just like that. Source is here, ascended masters, archangels, sentinel angels, master guides, spirit guides, our higher self, and then we have us. So it's a lot. And then we have the Holy Spirit, which is the energetic of all life that is breathed in and out of us every moment, from even the plants, everything that exchanges, respirates, has the Holy Spirit breathing in and out of them at all times in every moment. So when I chose my life path, it was chosen, even the physical looks that I have, even the looks, everything. I didn't, they say you don't pick it, you kind of do. People say I would never pick this broken body, I would never pick this, but you did. You did pick it, and I'll tell you, you did it for the actual benefit of your soul. And I always tell people, when you're up there, okay, I remember attending what it was a dream. Yes, it was a dream, but it was a reality. I was attending a class, and it was somebody that I had known back in the day. And this person had taught me yoga. This was like 22 years ago. And this woman was 60 something years old when she was a yogi, and she looked like she was 40. So, I mean, it was working for her. And she had crossed over, and I went in a dream and I saw her teaching, and she was teaching little souls. And they looked like adults, but they were young souls that had not been on the planet before or at this time. And she was a master guide. And I remember them saying to her, "Oh, you got cancer? Oh my God, what was that like? And you're so lucky you went to Earth." And she had cancer, everybody. And so they're running over to sit in her master class to learn, well, what is cancer like? And she said, well, it's painful. Well, what is pain? Well, it's like when your bones hurt. Well, what is hurt? Because there is none of that on the other side. There's no pain. There's no suffering. There's no illness. There's no death. There's no separation. There's no identity. So even explaining to the young souls, like, I had cancer, and so then I couldn't eat. Well, what is eat? They understand the concept of consumption or energetically exchanging with food, but they didn't really like that human experience of pain and separation. And she goes, and I was crying, and I thought God wasn't there. And they're like, God isn't there? And they don't understand that, because you're a hero to them on the other side. When you've come to Earth and say that you chose a cerebral palsy or you chose autism, any of these things, and this is going to trigger, I know a lot of people are going to be very triggered by this podcast, because the idea that their child or them would ever choose to suffer with brain cancer or any of these things. But trust me when I say I've done 200 readings for St. Jude's children, and never once in a reading with a child on the other side did they ever not know that they were going to have cancer. And never did they not know that they chose an easy early passing. And they go, how is brain cancer an easy early passing? And I said, because within 2 years, they got 5 books in their library, and it could have taken them 6 lifetimes and 70 years each to gain that much wisdom and experience that 2 years of suffering on Earth gave them. And the timelines, you asked me earlier about the timelines. Time on Earth is different. So the Bible gives us a description of 1,000 years in heaven is 1 day on Earth. So
that makes so much sense. I've had so many people who've had NDEs say they feel like they saw you yesterday. They feel like they're going to see you tomorrow, but we're here for like 70 years.
So I did the math on this just because I have a science brain. I got a degree in medicine, and I love technology and physics and stuff. And I talk a lot about quantum physics, and I became a quantum Reiki master. Just for the learnings of it, But it was so exciting when I did the math on this. I want you to guess, if a woman lives 83 years on this planet, how long was she gone from heaven?
Like, I don't know, less than an hour.
Yeah, 11 minutes. Is that crazy? Oh my God, 11 minutes. And I always say this is just like a bad trip to a awful summer camp. Like, don't take it too seriously. Nobody dies. We're all going to make it out alive. People say we're all going to die. No, we're not. We're all going to make it out alive. Taking your body off and dying is the easiest thing you'll ever do. And being born was the hardest. And I think that's a teaching that a lot of people have never heard either.
Well, you're mimicking what Christian Sundberg, who remembers planning his life, talked about in our interview, because he said that separation and lowering the vibration is so foreign that he experienced himself leaving his mother's womb to get out of that experience and having to come back in and try it again.
Oh God. It's when I do hospice work, as I said, and in hospice work, you're with a person that's actively in the process of dying. And I'm like, hey, are you going to die today? Don't die on me. I make it light because I said, don't worry, I've done it twice. I don't recommend it, but it's okay for a first go. It's okay for a first go around. And they often say, well, I'm afraid. And I said, don't be. You dying to spirit to be born in this body is the hardest thing you will ever do. Being born is like squeezing an apple through a water hose, 50 feet, the whole 50 feet. But dying is like peeling a banana. It's the easiest, most painless, wonderful situation that can happen. Now, I don't recommend people do it, and suicides do have to come back. So there is no quick escape. Like, you're going to come back and do it all again anyway. And it may be harder the second time because people that incarnated this life will not be there when you come back. They're going to be a paradise for a bit in between. So I don't recommend that. So please don't take that as anything. If you're dealing with mental health, please get help for that. When I say that dying is easy, I mean that the process of when your soul exits the planet through these nexus points, which I talked a lot about on Next Level Soul, the nexus points and how we cross over. When the spirit is ready, the body will create a nexus point. And many times as a medium, people will have near-death experiences within 2 years of the date they actually died. It's around 80% of people will get cancer, then survive it, then die unexpectedly of a heart attack. Or get cancer, but they had a car accident 2 years before. Or I had a man who died of a heart attack, but had a car drop on him 18 months before he died. I've had people survive a brain aneurysm and then die of, so there's like this little window where they feel like they didn't get to do everything or say goodbye or say thank you when they needed that. But the timelines of death, really dying is the butterfly phase, but being born is the caterpillar into the chrysalis. And while you're in the body, you are so squished down. You're totally under the illusion that you're separate from God. You're separate from each other, which really is difficult because we don't feel everything everybody else feels unless you're an empath, and then you're a highly evolved spirit that's done it many times and you can't turn those off. And then when you die, it's like the caterpillar turning back into the butterfly from which it always was. And you're in your full spiritual essence. So all of us NDEers are like, how big were you? Oh my God, I was 15 feet. I was 50 feet. I was 100. I was everything. I was the stars. Some people get real far out there with the descriptions, but there is no I anymore. The I self is gone.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So, what advice would you give to the people who are in what they would call pain, struggling as they're working through these virtues in this lifetime?
So I was shown 12 virtues that each of us are, and they don't teach on this, and I don't know why, because it is a really good spiritual understanding. And when you know this, you can upgrade much faster. There's 12 virtues, and Christ was the one that accomplished all of them and fully embodied his higher self. So his work was finished on the cross because his last virtue was sacrifice and unconditional love. So he was the one that fully incarnated, had removed all of his lower self, and he was the full embodiment of complete sacrifice and unconditional love without any judgment. And so we're all trying to achieve the 12 virtues, and each of the virtues are different. And we're here in different lifetimes to work out that library, that encyclopedia of virtues. And the goal is for all of us to become to the point where we're completely whole with our higher self and we have nothing left to incarnate on. So we don't have a reason to continue to come down and purify the lower self. So before I knew and understood this, I would just say, God, why is this happening to me? Why am I suffering? Please take it away. I would beg, I would plead, I would pray, I would fast. And I would see some results. I'm not gonna lie. I love being, I was God-centered, blood bought, covered in the, blood, all of that, 100%. But it limited me to the idea that someone outside of me had to always save or rescue me. And so it was a little limiting to realize that I felt that I was always on the end of a tether waiting to see if God would give me something, or God would heal me or my children, or God would give me a new partner, whatever it was always me waiting for these manifestations to come through from higher source. And I didn't understand that it was me, he, and us. So it was God does, so we do our best to change the situation. God does the rest, and spirit multiplies manifestation. So we do our best, God does the rest, and then our spirit team multiplies any manifestations rather than just praying and waiting, sitting in the space. And so now I understand that when we are crossing over, I don't say, God, why did you do this? God, help me. Instead of saying, why did you do this to me? I simply say, what can I do to move through this faster? And what do you want me to learn? Because when you change the dialogue, the dialogue with source, then source has a new vocabulary to teach you faster, quicker, and more. So you look at people like Joe Dispenza with supernatural, broken spine, broken back. He didn't say, God, why did you do this? He said, what do I need to learn and how can I heal? So when we're in these pain, these cancers, anything, we say, what do I need to learn and how can I get through this quicker? It's not a why, it's not a victimization, it's not martyrdom, it's not how could they do this to me? It's not a story we're telling ourselves. We're not regurgitating all the pain. I've been abandoned since I was 6. I was sexually abused by my father. Then I was married to an abuser. Then I'm with an alcoholic. Now I'm abandoned. So this is your history. This is not your story. When people tell me, I say, tell me your story, and they recount all of this, I say, this is history. None of this is your story. Remember the encyclopedia, how half of it is what occurred on you, what happened to you, but the other half is the story of what you do about it. That's in the middle of the book. And some people never write the story. That's why they come back and they incarnate over and over to live the history. They're waiting for that moment when your collective consciousness awakens to its identity and figures out what you do about it is the part that is yet to be written. And so when people are in pain and suffering, the first thing we have to do is go within ourselves and remove the idea that this is happening to us. Even if someone is doing it, it's done by contract. It's done by contract. Yes, even the most uncomfortable things are done by contract. And people flip out. Like, I didn't have a contract to be sexually abused. Probably not to that detail. But as you were using the shopping cart analogy, when we're in heaven, we have no pain, no fear, no separation, no sexual identity. We don't know what they're talking about. You just look at Earth as a video game with points. Like, oh, I get 1 gold star for being born to a single parent, but I could get 3 gold stars for being the oldest of 7 kids, because that comes with its own challenges. Or I can get 6 gold stars for having a learning disability, or I can get 10 gold stars for being born with a lifetime disease or a chronic condition. I can get, 4 gold stars for being a single mom. So we don't look at things in heaven or in the higher astral as we do on Earth, because the density isn't there. Everything is light speed thought. And we think, oh, I'll remember. I remember everyone says that on the other side. I thought I would remember that I chose this. I thought I would remember my husband or wife. I thought I would remember that God was always there, but you don't. When you're born, that veil is so thick. And that's the difference between the children born today and those born a century or 10. They're programmed already. They don't need your advice because it's not their advice. They don't need your ways because it's not their ways. And parents are having a real hard time with this because their kids are knowing all this knowledge and it's not coming from them. It's like their children are actually AI. They're artificially intelligent already when they come in, but it's because of these understandings.
So Sunshine, if things are moving faster now and we are manifesting and creating faster, then what can people who are watching do to help accelerate and make sure that they are bringing these gifts back online, like telepathy and the ability to create a life that they are in love with? What can people do right now?
Yeah. So the first thing to do is the master avatar Buddha, he actually taught us that awakening is knowledge. So you need to sit down with yourself and figure out, what are you running from? What are you resisting? What are you trying to escape? And what are you hating about your life or your body? If you hate your disease, you hate your weight, you hate your partner, you hate your situation, you hate your job, whatever you're in resistance of is what is holding you back. It's like putting thumbtacks in your energy, and it's holding you in those places. So the first thing is, make a list of the things you really don't like and be really brutally honest with yourself. I don't like this marriage. I don't like this situation. And this is where people get stuck, because instantly they go, I don't have another partner. I don't have more money. I can't move. Don't do that. I can't, I won't, I don't have. This is lack and scarcity, and you recycle yourself back 3 months. Write down everything that is happening, whether you say, I hate my back pain or I hate my knee pain. This is manifesting it through May. So March to May is your master manifesting of whatever you thought through January and February. January was hard earned. February is a magical month. And you go into the psychic energy of Pisces in March. And from March to April, it's all about April's manifesting, and March is where you see the results of your work. So get honest, write a list, figure out what you're in resistance about, and then change the dynamic. I don't hate my marriage. I enjoy that I have this, or I'm choosing to get out, or this is my walk away date. You've got to find a way to go from resistance to acceptance. That's the first thing, because then your energy will be freed up to manifest. You have to realize that the greatest portion of energy people use, Spirit told me this every day, is resistance. Resistance is the greatest energy that people waste in their life. I hate the way my daughter speaks. I hate the place I live. I don't like my boss. I don't like my body. I can't stand this disease. I hate the medicine. And it's resistance is anything you don't like, hate, complain about, or don't feel in alignment with is resistance. So write down everything that you're resisting and then find a way to either accept it or change it. That's it. Make a list of everything, and then right beside it, I'm going to change my thought or opinion, or I'm going to accept that this is how it is, and I'm going to stop complaining about it.
Yes, because our thoughts are so powerful, whether we are aware of it or not. They are creating the reality that we are in. Just like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right.
Yeah. And you know what? You and the mind of God are one. You don't understand that, but you think that God is above you, away from you, and you don't understand that you are actually always connected to God through the center of your crown. And God is actually experiencing this world through your eyes, not outside of you, but inside of you.
Yes.
When people say, well, I hope God sees me, God not only sees you, he sees everything as you. So God cannot enjoy his own creation because he knows all that there is. So the only way for him to enjoy his creation is through his created beings. So he actually feels your heart pain from inside you. He sees the struggles, the pain, whatever tear you've cried, whatever anger you've had, whatever suffering. And us crying out to him verbally is a secondary artificial way of connecting, because he's already within us. When your mind, whatever it's thinking or doing, it is one with the mind of God, but it doesn't move forward unless you're in agreement. You and God have to be in the agreement of that. That's why it says 2 or more. We can use avatars. Of course, Jesus is a great one. Mary is a great one. And we get a lot of manifested miracles and healings from those, because we can laser beam focus on that avatar. And because we're in agreement, we can manifest great healings and miracles, which I've seen. But again, whatever that you're in resistance is taking up your energy. So I talk about, we only get about 200 nanograms of energy. That's quantum physics. It's the way we explain energy spiritually. And people waste about 100 a day with just opening their mouth.
You not just opening their mouth, but opening their mouths and saying things like the list that you said that are not serving them.
Yeah, exactly. Lori just said it. It's what is not serving you. And it doesn't matter if your list is 50 things long. I work with my clients, I do these coachings, and I said, what are you in resistance of? Oh, nothing. And it's like, and I go, well, then you should be off planet. Why are you here? I mean, I have resistance. I don't like everything and everyone every day. And I'm like, why are you here? Float away, just go ahead and leave the body. But you're in resistance to something, or you would already be in your state of nirvana. We'd already be moving forward. But whatever you're in resistance about, get real about it. So write it down and then find a way to either change it or accept it. That's number one. If you can't change that you have multiple sclerosis, you can accept that there are healings, and you can accept that God is healing you, and you can accept that you're in alignment with the healing, that you don't identify as a sick person anymore. You don't identify with being disabled. You don't identify with the care. Some people only have gotten compassion and love when they were sick as a child, so they manifest disease in adulthood because it's their identity. It happens a lot. I've had a lot of supernatural healings from cancer and MS and lupus, because
Mm.
when we went back in the life paths, they either had a life past life where they were very sick and that was the only attention they got, or in this life they only got attention when they were sick. So that's the only time the mom would stay home, or the only time that they had attention aside from their siblings, or this was the only time they were catered to, and that was a stored energetic memory of love. So sickness and love became energetically entangled, and that's why that begins on a subconscious level to manifest. So resistance and acceptance, change what you can. And I mean, make a plan immediately. This relationship isn't working. I love you dearly, but I think we should move into separate rooms and just be friends for now. Maybe not engage in the sexual activities. You don't have to run away from home and destroy your life, but it's what are you accepting energetically? And if you're in resistance to that, just stop doing it. I don't mean stop going to your job, but be honest, go to your boss. This job, I need a different, I need a lateral movement. I need to see if we can seek another office or another location, or I need to be given more responsibility or less responsibility. You got to get really honest, because living a lie, living a farce, living in resistance is like living in hell, honestly. It's like hell every day, and you want to make heaven on earth for yourself. You know,
Absolutely. Well, can you speak? The last thing I want to talk to you about, and then we'll give people all the information of how to connect with you and what you've got coming up this year. There's been so much talk, Sunshine, about the earth changes that are here right now, the timeline shifts. I hear people talking about there's going to be a mass exodus. A lot of people will just all of a sudden disappear from your life. People that are no longer serving you, have decided that they're not going into this more of 5D reality where our gifts that we have suppressed for millennia are coming back online, where we will be telepathic. We will understand this oneness that we are on a level that we haven't been able to understand for right now. But what do you see or connect into and understand is coming in 2026 along those lines?
well, we already are telepathic. We are not coming into this. This has already been happening since 1970. A lot of people we thought were kooky and they were really marginalized as crazy were absolutely awakened and truthful and honest. And they were telling the truth of it, but the collective consciousness had not risen to the astral vibration of accepting what is truth from what is the matrix or the indoctrinated reality. So we live in a three-dimensional density, and not everyone has. We kind of in the spiritual community, it's like everybody's had an ND. You can't trip and fall down without somebody out of body experiencing, or everybody's a medium, everybody's a clairvoyant, which is to me great, because I don't subscribe to competition. And I know those that were meant to follow me will hear my voice and they will be my sheep. And other people have their own sheep. And so I'm great with it because, like I said, this is a harder timeline. Things are moving faster. So we were struggling so much on the planet that now we have interplanetary guides with us. People are making connections through light language. A lot of master guides like myself are awakening. You are a master guide. You're getting a platform so that we can help as many people activate as possible. This is what I want to say. I say this to the One Tribe. I started the One Tribe 12 years ago. So we are all about returning to oneness. eliminating identity differences. And we don't identify our religions, our race, our sexuality, our nationality, orientation. It's just we all are from God. We go back to God. And while we're here, we support each other. And I talk to them a lot about right now, there's a lot of wars going on. And you look, there's actually been about 6 wars that have ended in this last 6-month period. If you look all over the world, we have some that are being sensationalized more so, but others have ended that have been going on 30, 50, 60 years. So you need to give your energetic to the things you want and not what you don't want. So a lot of people are going to send you news articles, fear porn, things that disturb your energy. And when they send me something on, Syria or Israel or Ukraine and Russia or any of this, I go to the timeline where this is already resolved. So remember, time is not past or future. It's all happening now. And so even though I can identify with the 3rd dimensional density that we are at war, I don't. In my mind, we are at peace, and the peace is coming, and the peace is already here. When I channeled on this wars, I actually saw an endless cycle of suffering, that the people that are in Syria were the soldiers that, because they've been at war 7,000 years in that area. And the people that are at war in Israel were the ones that died in the Syria. And they were soldiers that killed Israelites, and now they're born as Israelites. And the Israelites killed the Syrians, and they die and become born. So they continue the cycle until they have compassion. As soon as a soul decides that they're going to have compassion for their enemy, and they're going to have compassion for the war, and they're not going to want to destroy, suffer, or kill for anything bigger than themselves, they immediately go out of that incarnation cycle, and they're outside of that war zone. The minute that they choose that, their spirit leaves the body, and they're no longer encapsulated in that endless cycle, because they created compassion around the suffering. And it's the same for all of us. If we create compassion around the suffering and see the timeline, we predicted on the show Maui fires, the earthquake in New York, snowstorms that just hit, the floods that were, even COVID was predicted on the show.
The floods that are what? You didn't finish that sentence.
The floods that happened and will happen. There was a lot. On my show, I don't do these types of predictions unless I'm giving it in a dream 3 times. So I try not to see headlines. I try not to be a sensationalist. I don't want to be a Hollywood medium. I've had the offer to do a show. I have no desire to go into Hollywood and to do any of that. And I have no desire to be a shock jock with big headlines about, massive earthquake takes 1 million people. I knew about the Sri Lankan tsunami before it happened 2 years before. But the thing is, unless we can change it, there's not really a big reason to predict it. The most important thing that Spirit always gives me is create the timeline in your mind where everyone and everything is at peace with that particular situation. So see the rebuilding of the Ukraine, see the Russian treaty, see the rebuilding of Syria, see the Israeli treaty, see the things you want to see. Each time a forest burns, see the forest rebuilt. Each time a tsunami comes, see that the ocean has spoken, that this was a situation that needed to happen, and move into a space of light and positive, high vibrational energy. Just one person has the mass consciousness to change the reality of an entire 10 by 10 anywhere on earth. So think about a square of 10 by 10. Just one person's thoughts can replace all of the fauna and flora in a 10-foot area that's been burned or wiped away or wiped out by war. You, in your own power of your mind, have the ability, each one of us, for a 10 by 10 area or 2 babies or 1 adult person, we, just through our thoughts, can heal, transform, plant seed, give the energy to regrow, rebirth, or regenerate anything we want. And as you master the mind, it goes even further. But this is just an untrained person thinking. I wish there was trees there, or I wish to see a palm tree there, or I wish the plants would refurbish, or I wish the fish would come back to this area, or that the whales would come back. And they have the power, and that's why the collective is really important. And the goal of every person on this planet, and I hope you'll hear this from me, please, is to heal yourself first by acknowledging that everything we do is for our good. It's happening to us, not to us, but for us. And then once you raise your own vibration, find somebody else and help them. Pray for them, minister them, be friendly with them, whatever you need to do, help them clean their house. It may not be something so spiritual. It might be just giving them food, assisting them, taking a single mother, feed a homeless animal, a pet, water a plant. Do something that makes the planet better. So heal yourself, turn back to heal others, and then come together to heal the vibrations of the community or any place on earth collectively to heal everyone.
Wow. So many gold nuggets in this conversation. I'm really excited for people to share in the comments, like what worked for you? Like what did you implement that Sunshine talked about today? And I know that there are people that are just waiting for you to tell them how they can connect with you, because you have some pretty special things coming up in 2026.
Yeah, remember this, everyone's on a different soul path, so we're not all here getting the same book at the same time. So don't judge others. People are here, some are here to be Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, spiritualists, alcoholics even. Everybody's here for a different edition. We're here for a different shelf life. So there's 7 life paths we can come in, and not everyone is a number 7 or a number 6. Some people are just starting out on their journey. Be kind, be patient, don't judge, try to be assistance. And if you guys would like to follow me, I just started our YouTube channel. It's very, very brand new. It's infancy. I think I get 10 views. I spent, the last 5 years on TikTok doing live shows and not recording them. So it just felt right in 2026 to bring this stuff to the collective. And so on YouTube, you can just find me at just Dr. Sunshine Frost. And then on my website is just sunshinefrost.com. And you can find me on different podcasts where I talk about different things. But what I do for people is I love to connect to the other side because I am quantumly entangled with that side. I just love it. And I love connecting people to their loved ones. I have had the opportunity, like I said, to read now and do over 170,000 messages. I love it. It's something I do pretty much 7 days a week. I take a day off here and there, but it doesn't drain me. I love connecting to heaven. I love the higher astral. I love the messages that come through. They're really empowering to us on earth to know that there is so much after this. And I have recently started connecting to people's pets because they were at one point just pets, but now they're actually our spirit guides. So many people's pets were their companion. They were part of their soulmates. They were their really like their partners in life. So now I've started to do some pet readings, and they're on the website, and then past life reviews. So I do life, mediumship, past life, and pet readings. And yep, no cards, crystals, or tarot. It's all natural connection. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. And you can connect all over the world. I get to do readings in England and Ireland and Norway, Scotland and Canada and Australia. So the One Tribe has gotten out, and this beautiful message is just of light and love, and that we're all going to be okay. We really are going to be okay, guys.
And tell people about the retreat that you do in Sedona, in my neck of the woods.
So as a metaphysical minister, I teach metaphysical Christianity, which is just a beautiful thing. It's the true teachings of the Essenes, which Jesus walked, not the religion. So we go with the collective consciousness of Christ, and we use both the canonized Bibles, but we also teach the Apocrypha and the agnostic Gospels. And so it's a much wider range, and we really love that. We get to learn that, and we teach about also the Bhagavad Gita, and we learn from the Tibetan tablets. And so it's a very open minded conversation, and people loved it, and they wanted to know how to come and meet us in person. So I talked about the Saints Bath. We do baptisms every year in running water, and we use Sedona because there's vortexes. And people I just started doing this on my own. I said, I'm going to go to Sedona and I'm going to baptize myself. My husband and I are going to do it to remove residual energy because every year seems to get harder. And I feel that baptism once is not enough. We are humans. We really have regrets, resentments, angers, frustrations. We break down, we backslide. And so for us, we wanted to do it every year. And it became just something that I did, but then people wanted to join me. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people from all over the world come to Sedona, Arizona in September. And we go to meditate at the Amitabha Peace Park. We have a beautiful family day at Red Rock Slide Park down in Arizona. And we also stay at this campground. We pretty much take over, the one tribe takes over the whole campground with kids and families and their pets. And we break bread together. We pray together. We drum. We have a drum circle, a musical circle, and we also baptize right there in the water of the Red Rocks. And each person has the opportunity to just be free and be remade, renewed every year in their spiritual contracts, their spiritual walk, and just feeling supported in that mission. So yeah, it's coming up. It's September 11th to the 13th, and I will have some information on my website. If someone would like to know more, I do offer a free consultation on my website. So you can book that just to find out, maybe you want me to speak at a podcast, maybe you want to know more about what we do, maybe you want to know what kind of reading that would benefit you the best. So the free consultations are always there, and anybody can reach out to me. And so, yeah, it's going to be great. I want to see you at one of them. I'm excited. Yeah, I love it. And that's a free event, by the way. I don't charge anything for that event.
I'm going to need to come back a little bit early from my cabin to make that happen, but that would be really magical.
Yeah, it's called the One Tribe Family Gathering, and it's a spiritual gathering for people from all over the world. And I don't benefit monetarily. It's a spiritual thing. It's a retreat. It's a Mecca, and it's really about coming together for the true spiritual nature of what we really are doing here.
Beautiful. You are so generous, Sunshine. Every time I talk to you, I feel recharged. I feel so grateful to be able to be connected to you and to just feel your passion for what you are trying to do to help wake up the collective, because we all know it is so needed. So I want to thank you for your part in that.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be sharing the planet with you. You're a master guide and a guardian, and I'm so excited, and I just love what I do. And thank you guys for everybody that watches this. Continue to like, love, support Lori. I love what she's doing. I believe it's magic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen, to comment, to share these conversations with somebody who needs it. And if you have more questions, you can join me on Wake Up Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 Eastern. So thank you everybody for watching.
Do you believe that love never dies and you want to hear stories that prove it? Well, hit the subscribe button. You belong here.